Shut the door.
Yeah. Can everybody hear? Can everybody hear? You have
Yes,
to.
sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you all will need to. All right. We'll wait a little while. Saiba, can you see any of our trustees? I see Rajiv. Good morning, Rajiv.
Sir,
You're all,
namaste.
yeah,
Sir,
namaste. Namaste, Sujata. You're all muted. Remember that, okay? Rajiv, you're also muted. You're muted, Saiba. No, but we are muted, huh? Or they are muted. Ah, wait. Saiba, you can hear now, right?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Can you see any of our trustees here, apart from Rajiv?
No, I said, sir, they will be joining us now.
Yeah, any minute. Yeah,
Yeah, they will be joining us.
yeah.
I'm calling you. Can you pick up the phone? I want to talk to you.
Yes. The mobile?
Yes, sir.
Do that. Oh, Saiba.
I called up the Justice Suresh's landline. They are not ready to come on the line right now.
Mute your this thing, Seba and Colin.
And I said, I controlled and said we'll talk to her them later then.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's right. That's what. Right. जी रितिक
ठीक है. Kishore, did Justice Suresh ever come with you to Chhattisgarh?
मैं अभी मैसेज करती हूँ मैं आपको.
Yes, sir. He had come twice to Chhattisgarh.
So
I think in 2010 meeting he came, and then 2016 also for a fact finding.
Say a
Twice,
few
yeah.
words. Say a few words.
Yes.
Say a few words.
मेरा क्या चीज नहीं चल रहा?
Sanjay,
फिर से करके देखिए.
have you ever been with?
कहा है वो अभी आपको फोन करता है फिर से.
Have you ever been with Justice Suresh on a fact finding any kind?
No, unfortunately, no, Colin.
Okay. Raji?
Not on a fact-finding column, but met him in the IPTs where he would be presiding, and also at the trustee meeting.
Yes, say a
The
few
last
words.
I met him was the last time.
रितेश का नंबर भेजो है ना तुम्हारे पास?
The last time I met Justice Suresh was last year when we had the trustee meeting in Bombay. And in spite of the fact that he was weak, he was finding it difficult to walk, he was using a walker, he came for the meeting. And he was so vibrant.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah, Raji. Just say a few words.
We will
once
miss him.
Start the meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
he played such a key role in leading HRLN, participated in so many fact findings, the Manipur fact finding.
Just hold on, Raji. We'll just have it now. Once we start, just say a few words, okay? Can you hear, Raji?
I can hear you, Colin.
As soon as, yeah, it breaks our heart. Yeah, just wait for a little while.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait for Hazel and the rest to join, and then. Soradeep, can
Yes,
you hear Soradeep?
yes, I
Did
can.
he ever come to Assam when you were there?
Sir, I've not, he did not come to Assam while there.
Maybe Debasmita will have a closer memory of him. Tripura also. Debashish, you say a few words. You also knew him very well, yeah.
Yeah, I know him. I met him.
Yeah. A little later, once we start the meeting, Debashish. Say a few words. UP group has not met him, right?
No, sir. No, sir.
The UP group has not. What about you, Deepak? Has any group met him? Would like to say a few words. Omkar, you've never met him, no?
No, sir, I haven't.
Unmute all. Let me tell that. Rakesh? Rakesh? Where's Rakesh?
Yes, Colin.
Rakesh, you were there when all these fact findings took place, right?
Yeah.
When we brought Suresh to Manipur and Ram Sharmila was there.
Yes. Yes.
There, right?
Yes.
Say a few words about that.
Sure. Sure.
That,
Sure, I will.
that we did. And you should get Pablu on actually. Can you call him, please? Give him the link. Send him the link and tell him Bablu come. We are doing a little thing. Bablu we must get, yes. Get Bablu. Have anyone from all of you, have anyone met him? Has anybody met him? Sujata, आप सुरेश जी से मिले कभी?
Namaskar, everyone. Can you see me?
Who's speaking? That?
I think he just is Deepak.
Colin,
Yes. Oh, nice to see you.
same here. And so sad too that we are meeting for this purpose.
Yes, sir.
Just now I have sent my mail to Madam, conveying my condolence and everything to the family members and to all of you.
Yes, sir.
He has
Just wait a little minute, sir. We'll start once all the trustees come in, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
Maybe 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, surely. And how are you, Colin?
I'm okay, sir. We've been working very hard. During
Yeah,
this period, we worked very hard and did a lot of cases.
I keep reading newspaper. You are appealing in the Supreme Court with regard to migrant laborers. They are in pitiable condition.
Terrible.
Pitiable.
Very bad, sir. And for many months, the Supreme Court did not actually act, But now they are doing some good work.
Yeah, now with the change of bench, they are doing something.
Yes. Yes. Actually, sir, it's the same bench almost that earlier dismissed all the cases. So virtually,
No. Earlier it was CGI. No, now it is Ashok Bhushan.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That is the change, no?
That is the change. Yes.
In fact, to be very honest, I don't want to boast about it, but looking at the plight of all these persons, I had on my own sent rupees 51 lakhs to PM Fund.
Yes, sir. That was very generous of you.
What to do? I thought ki something has to be done. Let me do it.
Yes.
After all, it is all your money which you give, which is coming to me. So I thought, why not give it back to the society?
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to carry it anymore with me.
Yes, sir. Saiba, has Hazel joined? Have any of the trustees come?
No, sir. I'm
They'll have
trying
it-
Anuradha ma'am. I'm trying Anuradha ma'am to see if she can come in.
They'll find it difficult. I don't think Hazel will be very familiar with the.
Yes, sir. In the convent, she's not very this thing comfortable. But she said she will find someone to help her out.
Yeah.
Has Rachana responded?
Hello.
Yes, sir. She said she will be here.
Colin.
Yes.
Anuradha ma'am is there.
Now this is Hazel.
Hazel ma'am.
I'm under Roshni's name.
Ah.
Roshni,
You
okay.
understand? Because I couldn't get in. And then Roshni helped me. But it came under her name. So I'm here.
Wonderful that you could join, Hazel. Nice, we can see you. You have to put your screen a little back so that
Ma'am,
you
can you get?
Put my stage a little back.
Hello. Hello.
Parshuraman is not here, no?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Saiba, we've sent him the email, right? 1 second, we'll have to unmute.
I've sent.
You sent him the email.
Don't have his contact number. Darishil sir will not be able to join. He's very hesitant to talk. So we will have to talk to him separately over the phone.
What's happened?
So some incident that happened to him, I was very unwell, and after that he has stopped coming and going out of the house, and he's very reluctant to talk to people now.
I must speak with him.
So yeah, I just thought I have his wife's number now. We will talk to him later after this.
Try Rachana if you can get him. If
Yes,
you can get her.
Yeah.
So shall we start the meeting now?
Yes.
So good morning, everybody. We meet in very sad times. We got the information yesterday that day before yesterday, late at night. Day before yesterday, late at night, Justice Suresh passed away. It was 11 o'clock at night, and he was playing rummy with his daughter. And as they were playing cards, he began to feel discomfort. So they tried to get an ambulance, but can you imagine? They tried to get an ambulance, and they're very close to the hospital. But the ambulance could not come for a couple of hours. So they decided to take him in the car. So they lifted him up and carried him to the car. And basically, he was not able to breathe. And he was in no pain for the first hour or so, but he was not able to breathe and slowly lost consciousness. So by the time they reached the hospital, which was 2 hours from the time he felt discomfort, he was dead on arrival at the hospital. They cremated the body at 4 o'clock the next day, which is yesterday morning. And Justice Suresh now has gone away. All of you know what a wonderful man he was. I don't remember when I first, brought him into HRLN as the chairman. And retired judges were most reluctant to come on the board of an organization like ours, which is seen as fighting for human rights. But he came very happily and stayed on. I think he must have stayed on for 15, 20 years. I don't remember how long it was. And I wrote a small obituary, although I don't like to use the term obituary for an active person like Justice Suresh. I wrote a small thing which came in Live Law, if any of you have seen it. And I practiced before him in the Bombay High Court. And there were two judges there, Justice Suresh and Justice Daud, who after retirement became very famous, well known throughout the country. He must be known by tens of thousands, lakhs of people in the country. And he went along with us and many groups to do fact finding. So his happiest period was post-retirement. His most productive period was post-retirement. And his most revolutionary period, if you can say that for a comrade and friend, was post-retirement, where he did nothing but travel through the country. We went to many places, many places right across. I might have gone with him for at least 15 fact findings in remote parts of the country. And I remember in Manibeli and in the Northeast once, we went in canoe. We took Justice Suresh in a canoe to cross the river and go to the other side where the tribals had suffered some atrocity. And he was ready to go. He stayed in some terrible hotels. He stayed in some terrible places where the groups were very apologetic that here was a High Court judge coming to meet him. And that was the thing about him. And that was the thing about his visits. No High Court judge ever goes to a tribal hamlet. No High Court judge ever goes and sits in a slum where a demolition has taken place. And so when he went to these places, the first thing that startled people was that Judge Saab aa gaya. Retired Judge Bombay High Court ka Judge Saab aa gaya. And it was such a huge thing for them that a judge had come to their area because nobody ever bothered to visit them. Activists would come, no doubt. But for a judge to come was something unbelievable. And he changed the mood, he changed the tempo, he changed the morale of people even after an atrocity had taken place. The Judge Saab aa gaya, Judge Saab ne pura haqiqat-e likha, and he was going to do something about it. And then he would do a press conference and things like that. He just changed the feelings of people who had just undergone a huge atrocity. And he did it, I think he might have done 100 fact findings. Can you imagine 100 fact findings? He never turned down anybody. Sometimes the groups, I remember once we went for a meeting in Orissa, and the group that had promised to organize the meeting and had promised big things didn't turn up. So we turned up at the venue, Justice Suresh and I, and there were 3 people there. There were just 3 people. And then we realized that the organization that had invited us wasn't a reliable group at all, but both of us went and sat for about half an hour. And then we went back to our hotels, and then we left in the evening and returned to Bombay. I was in Bombay in those days, but he was such a joyous person. He didn't bother at all. He wasn't grumpy. He said, "Come on, Colin, let's go back. Let's have some nice food and let's go back." These people are dead. But that was just once. In all the 100 inquiries that we did, that was the only occasion when we were let down. Manipur was a very historic inquiry, both for me and for Justice Suresh and the people there. And the Manipur inquiry, I think, was one of the first inquiries we did at a time when the army was really in total command of the situation and the police were in total command. Nobody could hold a meeting Nobody could speak up against the government. No one could dare speak up against the police and armed forces. And so when we took him to Manipur, we didn't know whether we'd be allowed to enter. But I think the police and the state and the armed forces were caught off guard in a sense. So we landed up there, Justice Suresh in his simple kurta, walking very confidently out of the plane, coming into the holding area, and it was full of police. So he and I, we acted as if it was business as usual. Here was a High Court judge coming in, and I wondered what they would do. Would they stop us and say, "Sir, you can't go"? And I think they were not sure what to do. And the moment they made way, and we waved out to the officers, we shook some of the officers' hands very politely. I introduced Justice Suresh, he shook their hands, and I served them. Sir, nice to see you, sir. This is Justice Suresh, sir. They opened ways and they let us go through. And we went into a small car that we had booked for us. And then the police officer says, "Sir, we can please sit and we can take you with us and we can help you find out the facts and so on." So we said, "Sir, we'll do that a little later. Justice Suresh would like to meet some friends of his here. And we'll certainly come, sir, if you don't mind in the evening, if you give us an appointment, he would certainly like to meet you." They parted and we went in. And as we entered Manipur, got out of the airport, there were jeeps, army jeeps going up and down. There might have been about 40 army jeeps in a show of strength with their sirens going up and down, up and down. It was truly actually a frightening sight to see the power of the police and the army. And we got into our small car and went to the venue where people were waiting for us. There might have been at least 300 people waiting. And as Suresh reached, then the news spread that Justice Suresh had come, and I think it was some kind of a government kind of a house. But we managed to get it and book it, and everybody turned up. And everybody spoke. We listened to everybody speak. Then Justice Suresh gave his usual very fiery speech. And I must say, in all these inquiries, were Justice Suresh not there, we would not have been allowed to hold our meetings. We would not be allowed to meet people. We would have been obstructed. We would have been arrested. Meetings would not have been possible, and speech making, which gave people so much morale, would never have been possible. It is his presence. He was a small man, and he never used, he never tried to push, things around. He was a small man. But what an enormous impact he had on people. And then we went for, I think, 2 or 3 days. We traveled in the villages of Manipur. We went to remote mountain areas. We met, I remember, a woman who had been raped by the police. And she was terribly traumatized, and we went to her house and met her. As I said in my little note on Justice Suresh, we met a man who was holding his intestines in his hand. His intestines had come out of his stomach, and he was just like that. I mean, they didn't do the operation to put it back. I can't imagine what had actually happened. Or maybe it was pretty recent, but he was shot in the stomach, and he was holding his intestines in his hand. And he was talking about things. We met so many people who were bedridden because they were shot in the spine and so on. And what an eye-opener it was for me, and I think it was an eye-opener for Justice Suresh. And the lesson we learned, that is very important to be on the spot. And immediately, this was many, many months after the killings and so on. And there, Sharmila followed us. Sharmila was not politicized then. Justice Suresh's meeting and his speeches was the politicizing of Sharmila. She would come behind on a cycle, I would notice a young woman, a girl almost, I think she was in her late teens, maybe 18, 19. She was following us on a cycle. Nobody knew her, nobody, and she came for every meeting. And then I went up to her and asked her what her name was. She said, Iram Sharmila, what are you doing? I'm studying. And she said, I wanted to listen to the speeches. So she listened to all of Justice Suresh's speeches. And 3 months after that, there was a massacre in a market where a commando had gone to urinate, and some militants had come behind him and shot him dead. And as soon as the news spread in his platoon, some 13 soldiers came out and came to the marketplace and shot about 8 or 9 people dead. And Sharmila read about that in the papers, and started her hunger fast immediately. She wasn't political. She didn't ask anybody. She didn't ask senior, leaders of the movements. She just started her hunger fast, and she was criticized for that. People said that, Sharmila, why have you done this? You should consult us. And she said, I'm not doing it for you. I remember her answer. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for myself. I can't live with this. I'm doing this for myself. And I don't care if anybody criticizes me or says I must call out my strike, but I'm doing this for myself. And the other last example I want to give you was the Bombay communal riots, when the Shiv Sena was in power and they massacred so many people. I think they killed 3,000 people. Justice Suresh and Justice Daud went immediately and started a fact-finding in the areas of the riots. And what was remarkable was that they worked so hard, so quickly, and so thoroughly that they came out with a beautiful report on the Bombay riots. A beautiful report. And all of you must actually look at some of the reports of Justice Suresh. What we'll do is we'll try and collect this and put it up on our website as a tribute to him. And he came out with a beautiful report very quickly. And then slowly the government appointed the Sri Krishna Commission. And Justice Sri Krishna Commission took I think took 2 years or something to come out with the report. So Justice Suresh was very critical of the slow speed of the publication of that report. I remember him saying that, they have all the power, they have all the resources, and see, they took 2 years. And Justice Daud and I, we sat on stools in the slums, and we came out with a report so quickly. And I agreed with him, although I think what Justice Sri Krishna ultimately did, if any of you have not seen that report, you must see it. It's I think, Justice Sri Krishna's finest work ever, if you take all his Supreme Court cases. But Justice Suresh was a little critical about the slow pace of that report. And so, my dear friends, that's Justice Suresh for you. It's just a small thing of the million things that he did. And he was our chairman for so long. And he was so kind with us. And he would always say, he and Justice Daud will always say, that, Colin, we are not able to find judges, retired judges, to stand with the movement. We are not able to find. We are trying and trying and trying, and we just can't find judges to stand with the human rights people and speak up boldly. I suppose that's the tragedy of our times, that we don't do this. But he was an enormous inspiration to, I think, lakhs of people in the country. There's not an organization in the country that doesn't know him. There's not an organization in the country that hasn't seen him come to their area and speak. And when there was demoralization, he gave people courage. When people were frightened, he gave them strength. When people were silent, by his outspokenness, he made them all speak ferociously like lions. So he gave people courage, tremendous courage. And he gave all of us, and particularly people from Bombay, a lot of courage to do things that we would not have dared to do, to say things we would not have dared to say, and to be outspoken and bold at all times. And so I'll stop here. And yes, I'll give you a chance. You say it here in a little while. All of you will have to contribute. This is just a tiny thing. I'm not saddened by his death, I must tell you, although I will miss him dearly. He was, I think, in his early 90s. Does anybody know how old he was? I can't imagine him being 90, actually. I thought he would be like 70.
So 91.
91. 91.
I'm not saddened by his death in the sense that he lived a full life. And I particularly ask one question when a old person dies, because my father died at the age of 83, but he suffered for about 20 years. Terrible suffering. And when I hear of a person who's lived his life fully and dying peacefully without suffering, I feel a sense of elation that the person has gone to a far, far better place without suffering. I was so happy for the fact that he didn't suffer and he went nicely into the night. So we'll miss him. We'll miss him. But he's gone from us now. So I'd like any of you who've known Justice Suresh to unmute and, if you like, say a few words about him.
So Hazel ma'am.
Hazel first. Please, Hazel. You'll have to unmute Hazel.
May I also say a few words after Hazel?
Yes, sir, of course. Hazel, go ahead, Hazel. You can put on your video as well. Hazel, can you hear us? Hazel?
Somebody who is hosting this meeting can unmute Hazel. I think she's by the name of Roshni.
Why didn't he record?
I think she's back.
Okay.
I think she's back now.
So we'll wait for her.
Hazel, please.
Sir, you can start, sir.
No, she has come. Colin?
Yes, sir.
I think something went wrong with Hazel's.
Yes, sir. They'll try and fix it.
Okay,
There's somebody there who will fix it.
Yeah.
But you can start, sir.
Okay. Dear friends, I was extremely shocked and surprised to hear about the sad and unfortunate demise of Honorable Mr. Justice Suresh. I have had the occasion of meeting him number of times in Delhi in the office of Colin. I always found him a gentleman par excellence, something which is not to be found these days, a judge of a high court demeaning office and then behaving in such a soberly manner. He would listen to everyone, and whenever we had meetings, it used to be very long meetings, but he would give time to every one of us and then listen him patiently and try to sort out the problems. In this hour of grief, I offer my heartfelt condolences to all his family members and request the Almighty God to give enough courage and strength to them to bear the loss with fortitude. May his soul rest in peace. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Verma. Rajiv, would you like to say something?
You'll have to unmute yourself, sir. Rajiv sir, please unmute yourself.
हमको भी अनम्यूट करना पड़ेगा.
Can I be heard now?
Yes, you can be heard. And can everyone please mute themselves as it creates little disturbance? Everyone except Rajiv sir. Please go ahead, sir. Rajiv sir.
Right. So it's a sad day for all of us in HRLN. We've lost Justice Suresh, who's been such a guiding light for all of us all these years in HRLN. And I did have the opportunity of meeting him when he came on and off to Delhi for the board meetings, and when he came in to preside over the independent people's tribunals that we had organized in Delhi. The last time I got to meet him was in the trustee meeting in Bombay last year. And I was amazed by his presence there. You know, he found it difficult to walk because of his age. And he walked up to the office using a walker. And in a quivering voice, he presided over the meeting. But he was so sharp and so alert that I was truly amazed, because that was really the first time I sat next to him and heard him. Colin, of course, has spoken about the amazing work that he did with HRLN. We will certainly miss him.
How can I go higher?
My profound apologies, my condolence to the family. We will miss him certainly in the board. Thank you.
You'll have to unmute yourself, sir.
Unmuted, sir. Yeah, unmuted. Hazel, you can speak.
Okay. I think that I knew Justice Suresh last of all, very recently, during the last 4 or 5 years that I'm secretary with the HRLN. But I've heard so much of him, even in the College of Social Work. But when I actually met him, he was president and I was secretary. He was such a simple man, and so welcoming, smiling. And I would tell him that I don't think I should continue as secretary because I've passed the age when I should do it. And then when he would tell me his age, I would feel a bit ashamed and say, if he can do it still, why can't I? And having such a reputation as I knew he had, the kindness and the simplicity with which he reacted to problems that were mentioned during our meetings. Then at the times when we went to Delhi and we were coming back, and since I was in Bombay, he was also, we had time at the airport, and I used to see him really having difficulty to go down the stairs, to carry his bag and walk. And sometimes I would say, Justice Suresh, how are you managing like this? It's difficult, must be so difficult for you. And, you know, he would make nothing of it. He'd just laugh it off literally and say, well, you know, like, you know, you must continue doing as long as you can. And somebody will be waiting for me. So there was a kind of an optimistic note always in whatever he said. I would be the one like, you know, feeling sorry for and all that, but not he. And that's why I was able to carry on looking at him, his courage and his goodness, and the way he reacted to problems. He would relate certain experiences of the past, but I never found him like terribly anxious or panicky. Of course, I found that he was sorry, very sorry about what was happening, and that we could not improve things better. And in fact, it was going from bad to worse. That he said that was happening. And but the equanimity with which he accepted things and never boasted about what he had done, but just related it as an experience from which one could learn for the future. So I really was so struck by his simplicity And then he would, while we were sitting and waiting either for the car or for this or for that, he'd relate things in a very simple manner also. So I must say that he never showed impatience of of having to wait for something or the other. I really admired him for what he was, and I felt that I could learn so much from him as I'm growing older also, and accepting life. Imagine that before he was dying, he was just playing rummy. It shows also the type of man he is, never preoccupied and worrying about what could happen and this and that. Okay, let it happen. We do our best, and that's all. And that's what he did till the end. He did his very best. And that's what we can learn for our lives, because none of us can predict what the future will be, what the next months are going to bring us even. And therefore we feel a certain amount of anxiety. And this anxiety sometimes makes us negative. But with Justice Suresh, I found that his good humor, even with all that he had gone through, was still there. And with that, his presence breathed a certain peacefulness and a sense of solidarity and peacefulness, which I think are some of the best messages that we could communicate to one another and strengthen our own effort to stand for what we believe. So I thank God for Justice Suresh, and the fact that he could go so peaceably at the end shows the extent of peace this man enjoyed in his life, and that he will certainly enjoy forever now. I thank God for him.
Colin and my dear friends, do I have a permission to exit now, because I have one more meeting from 1 o'clock? I'm not able to hear you, Colin, because you are.
So you'll have to unmute.
Sir, thank you for coming.
May I have the permission to exit?
Thank you.
Namaskar to all of you. Soul rest.
Namaskar.
Nice to meet all of you, but at a wrong time, at a wrong place. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye, sir.
Okay, take care. Okay, bye, Hazel.
Thank you, sir.
She's not coming up. Yes. Kishore, would you say a few words? One second.
Yes, sir.
Kishore, you.
Good morning, everyone. It was very heartbreaking and sad moment for me when I read yesterday about demise of Justice Suresh in the social media. Justice Suresh had come to Chhattisgarh twice. In the year 2010, he had come to Bilaspur, where the High Court is located. So in the year 2010, he had come with Colin sir and Mr. Prasant Bhushan for a meeting in the old High Court building. It was a very brief meeting of 3 hours, and the High Court lawyers and everybody heard him. So it was a very small meeting, though we could not interact much on that meeting, but he had always had a smile on his face, and he was a very simple gentleman. This was observed by everyone in that meeting. But in the second occasion, when he had come in the year 2016 with a fact-finding team of around 10% from across the country to Bastar, that was the time when I personally or other person also met him for a longer time and tried to know about the person. So in the 2016, he had come to Bastar for a fact-finding of knowing about some fake encounters which took place on that time. Also, cases of sexual violence were there. So he came to Raipur, and from Raipur to Jagdalpur, which is about 300 kilometers. We had two vehicles and I think 15-16 persons. So it was a very uncomfortable position for an old man to travel for 300 kilometers. But after every discomfort, he traveled for 5-6 hours in a not so luxury vehicle, and then I went with him. Other person had also gone to remote villages of Bastar, and the villagers, the tribals were very happy and very surprised uh, to know that a high court judge has come to meet them, and they were talking to him. They were telling about the incident and his Bombay style Hindi. He was also talking to tribals, and he was very concerned and very sad to hear the stories narrated by the tribals there. And during the entire 3-4 days of fact finding, I would go to him, I would sit beside him, always talk to him, and try to, because he was a very welcoming person. Uh, Even for a so-called irrelevant person, he always had a very welcoming behavior, and also everybody was very uh, pleased to be in his company. He had also gone to the central prison of Jagdalpur. Initially, the officers there were very rude to everybody. Subsequently, when they came to know there is a high court judge, retired high court judge, they tried to reform themselves. So he was a very simple person. His attire was as said that he was wearing a very normal, ordinary kurta, and he never had any ego about being a high court judge. Ego is a very remote word. He was very simple person, and and also he was an example for the young lawyers, for everybody to who wants to uh, do human rights work, to see him and to follow him, and guided by him. So uh, my condolences with the family, and I will always miss him. Uh, Thank you, Justice Suresh, for being to our place and be with us and guiding us. Thank you.
You're unmuted, sir.
No?
Unmute.
He's unmuted.
Yeah.
Unmute like this.
You're unmuted, sir.
Kishore. Sorry, Rakesh.
Yes. It was in the year 2000. Justice Suresh, Colin, and Priti Burma visited Manipur. It was during that time the violence is at its peak. So it was a week-long program. At the same time, it was organized by a group of people, and the basic idea of that inquiry was that to inquire into the overall human rights situation after the prolonged application of APASPA in the state of Manipur. And during his visit, he met several victims' family, several victims of torture. At the same time, we had the meetings with the various activists, lawyers, and he listened to each and every individual patiently. At the same time, he is so humble. At the same, I mean, he did not show any sort of things which could identify himself as just, as a retired judge. He behaved just like ordinary people, and actually, in other words, the act which he behaved is very much influenced to my further future life also. After that week-long meetings with the victim family, with each individual, with lawyers. So before their departure, they published an interim report of that inquiry commission, and thereafter, the full and complete inquiry report was published in our combat law publication, and it was in the year April-May 2003 combat law publication. And after that, on the basis of the findings given in that inquiry commission, we filed petitions before the High Court for seeking compensation as well as prosecution in many cases. And with that, as I participated in that inquiry commission as a volunteer, and with that, since I participated in that week-long inquiry, so it influenced me to work further for the cause of human rights. So we miss him, and I think such a humble and such a great person would not be able to come in this world for a long time. We miss him greatly.
Thank you, Rakesh. What year was the Manipur visit?
2000, year 2000.
The year 2000.
In the year 2000, the inquiry commission held from 21st October to 25 October.
Yes, Rakesh.
Long.
That was the turning point where people began to believe that it's possible to stand up to the police.
Yes.
It's possible to stand up. And if we do that unitedly, the state doesn't really know how to handle us. And that was the turning point.
Yes.
And if you
Actually,
might
earlier.
Go ahead, Rakesh.
Earlier, yes.
Get Pablo. Yes, Rakesh, I can hear you. Do you want to say something?
Yeah. Yes. Actually, earlier during those days, the ordinary people could not raise their voice. Even they could not make a report, make complaint to the authority about what's happening in their life, in their daily life. So people are very much afraid of. So after that, the Independent People's Inquiry, then after publication of interim report, the people started ignite the people to raise their voice. So it is a great turning point in the history of Manipur.
Yes, and it didn't end, but there was the other highlight was almost 20 years later, where the Supreme Court ordered the prosecution of police and army people with the CBI appointed as investigator.
Yes.
And when we came in...
And after that, it put complete end. It put a complete halt to their nefarious activities.
That's right. When we came, the fake encounters were 400 a year. 400 fake encounters a year in the year 2000. And now in the year 2020, it's almost 2 or 3, almost nil.
Yes.
So fake encounters have virtually finished in Manipur for many reasons.
Yes, we can say.
For many reasons, but I think the fact that people did fact findings and did cases contributed to that enormous change in the situation. Gayatri, are you there?
Yes, sir, Gayatri.
Gayatri, are you there?
Yeah.
Would you like to
I'm
say?
there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear?
Yes.
So I just want to say a few words because I'm going to get emotional. I just feel that I should have spent more time with him. He was such an inspiration to all of us. And he was so brave when all of us were fearful and scared. He encouraged us. I'm so glad that we had a meeting with all the young lawyers from Bombay with him. Hazel was also there. And many of the young lawyers were basically, I mean, I wouldn't say depressed, but the situation was such that people were not so encouraging. But it was Suresh who he heard everyone, and then he gave such a positive picture that there was always a solution to all the problems. And I'm sure most of the lawyers who are there, the young lawyers, were encouraged by him. They should have spent more time with him and seen what difficulties he had to go through. I had long discussions with him about his family, his involvement in these issues. Even when he was issued a notice when uh, the issue relating to when all these people were arrested, he was issued a notice. He was not scared at all. He discussed it with us so casually, and then we told him, don't worry, and he was not at all worried. He said, I'll handle the situation, and he didn't want any help or any and as people have said, I mean, he was, even despite his weakness, he was always there in the meetings. He never said that I cannot attend or I'm not well. And we try to find ways so that we could go to him, but he would insist that he will come for the meeting. Until the end, he didn't want any sympathy with us. He was always encouraging, and I just feel that we were not able to extend any help to him or talk to him and be with him when he needed us. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Ma'am, did he go with you to the Hyderabad for the fact finding?
Yes, I had gone with him for a fact finding on the tea gardens in Calcutta. Also Hyderabad, yes, you're right. And but the tea garden experience was something so encouraging, because he came by flight, and he was given food which was stale, and he was so sick. I could see that he was sick, yet he put up a brave face and said that he will. We told him that we need not go to the tea estates because they were all scattered in far off distances. You had to walk a lot, but he insisted in accompanying us. And then we went to the tea gardens. When we went in there, we realized that the distances were so far, and we said that shall we find some mode of conveyance where we could reach people's houses. He said no, he would walk himself, and then he would walk, and we were exhausted, but he continued. And then he would insist that he talk to people, and he didn't want any intermediary between him and someone else. He wanted to directly talk to people, and then he would sit with them, talk to them, and they would offer food, water, and we were scared that he might, because he was already sick, he shouldn't be, but he made no fuss. And then when we came back, he insisted, we were so exhausted, he insisted that the report be prepared immediately, that we write down the points so that we could give it to the press. And immediately that same day, we were able to issue a press note because Suresh prepared it, and he insisted that we give it to the press. So I mean, the energy that he had and the empathy that he had for people, it was amazing. I have never experienced. The time that I spent with him was something very uplifting and very encouraging. So I mean, yeah, that's what I want to say.
Thanks, Gayatri. Is there anyone else who would like to say a few words, who knew him or met him? Anybody else?
Colin, can I share something?
Yes, Bablu, please. Everybody, we are happy to welcome Bablu from Manipur, from Human Rights Alert. Very close friend of Justice Suresh.
Colin, yeah, it was a deep loss for all of us as well. I was just sharing this. We had a meeting of the human rights groups now, and I was sharing the unfortunate demise of Justice Suresh. And we are also planning to come out with a small condolence statement together on behalf of the Coalition of Human Rights, Civil Society Coalition on Human Rights in Manipur. We fondly remember him for the path-breaking work on APSFA that he did in 2000. Many people still remember him, the enthusiasm with which he came in 2000, which Colin and Priti Verma were also there together. And that was the first time a retired judge from the mainland India have come, visited victims to their homes, listened to their deep pain, and Justice Suresh came to the conclusion that his first statement, which really stuck us, was irrespective of what the Supreme Court said, a sanction to kill can never be constitutional. I mean, I still remember those words, and we use this quite often whenever we do advocacy. It is probably not so easy for a retired High Court judge to come out with such simple, clear, and very brave position. Yeah, I mean, we all remember him with a lot of love, affection. The last time I met him was in Punjab when we did the public hearing on the disappearances in Punjab not too long ago. And it was always a surprise. He was quite old when we met him in 2000, and he never seemed to age. He seemed to be fresh and very sharp in his observations and thoughts. But it's, I mean, when we heard that he's no more, we were deeply pained. But on the other hand, he was already 92, and I think he had lived a life which is very, very meaningful, not only for himself, but he will be fondly remembered in the little corners of this country, including in Manipur. And we will also come out as a group with a small statement to thank him for what he have contributed and the ice-breaking work that he have done, which led to even Irom Sharmila's hunger strike was also an interaction. I mean, her resolve to go for this extraordinary hunger strike was also out of the interaction, the down-to-earth kind of approach that Justice Suresh have done, and how much people were happy and inspired by his very clear human rights articulation. And it was a huge catharsis for people to have a retired judge from Mumbai coming and taking our pain and becoming a voice of our people. It is a loss, and yeah, thank you very much for giving us this chance to share our thoughts for Justice Suresh amidst all of you. Thank you. Thank you, Colin.
Yeah. Bablu, you can say a few words about the Chandigarh meeting on the killings in Punjab, where Justice Suresh was there, right?
Yes, that was the last time we met him. Yeah, I mean, what really stuck me at that time was, despite of its age, he was still very, very sharp, and I mean, there's no fuzziness in his thinking despite his age, and his commitment and clarity and simplicity with which he articulated the problem was something that has always impressed us. And I think he demonstrated that he looked a little weaker than what we saw in 2000, of course. His complexion went a little gloomier than we saw him in 2000, but his mind was as bright and sharp as usual. And of course, he remembers us quite, recognized us, and we were talking about also over and above Punjab of the cases that he have looked into when we informally met. He was very lively and very approachable. He's very easy to talk to. There's no ear around Justice Suresh. That is how we remember, and he will always be a very dear person in the hearts of many people across the country. That's all. Thanks.
Is there anybody else? Debosmita, did you happen to meet Justice Suresh at any time?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I met him once in Bombay. When he did not come over here in Guwahati when we started our unit, but I met him in Bombay in the year 2014. There was a meeting in Bombay on LGBT rights. He was so approachable. He was so gentle, so humble. And when Kranti told me that he is our chairperson, Justice Suresh is coming, and then he introduced me. So he asked me what sort of work we are doing, and in Assam, what is the situation now? And then he has said we have to continue our work, and with courage and boldness. He was very humble, very approachable. I don't have much words to express the feeling right now, but we will really miss him, his guidance. Thank you.
Is there anybody else, or shall we?
Yes, I'm Uday Chaudhary. I'm there.
Uday, how nice to see you.
I would like to say a few words to pay my homage to Justice Suresh. I had an occasion to work with him in the famous massacre at Ramabai Nagar, Dalit massacre at Ramabai Nagar by the SRP party. I participated in the initiative taken by him in the fact finding, and his fact finding initiative was so helpful to us, even to plead our case before the Gundewar Commission, about which you were in Mumbai at that time. A team led by our union, namely Labour Front, affiliated to AITUC, and Sham Gaikwad and others. We made a team under the guidance of Justice Suresh, and we appeared before Gundewar Commission, the unfortunate situation was that all the so-called leaders of the Dalit leaders, they ran away from the field, and there was nobody to plead the case uh, before on behalf of the victims. We did that, and Justice Suresh helped us a lot, time to time. Ultimately, the commission report came out, and the police party was held responsible for the massacre and killing. The finding was that the firing was unwarranted and uncalled for, and there was no need, uh, and it was not followed by any norms laid down for opening fire. In spite of that, the uh, the then government was reluctant to accept all the recommendations. So thus started next phase of our struggle, in which Justice Suresh always stood with us, not only guiding us in the commission, but even after that, he attended all forms of struggles uh, for pressurizing, pressing the government to accept the recommendations of the commission. We had a mass hunger strike of all the dwellers of Ramabai Nagar, including students going to schools and colleges, people going to their duties, even the domestic servant from that area going to their respective place of work, and they were all on hunger strike. And Justice Suresh, we had just invited him, but he had some problem. He said probably he may not come, but surprisingly he came all alone and and joined our agitation, hunger strike. So always uh, he physically presented. And one of his bold speeches, I still remember, in a public meeting held there, he said the police party had no license to kill the people, and I say a controversy was going on whether it is a culpable homicide or a murder, or or a situation wanted that and all that. He, in open speech, he said that it was nothing but a cold-blooded murder, and the charges of murder should be framed against the inspector, SRP inspector, namely Manohar Kadam, and accordingly the charges were framed uh, later on when he was tried in the trial court uh, on the basis of uh, the inquiry commission report. But unfortunately, it was so badly handled by the government, the state government, and uh, so he was escaped, the Manor Kadam, and when he escaped, all the police party escaped. So, but Justice Suraj always had a crunch in his mind that this should not have happened. Even when at the time of the 10th anniversary of the massacre, he again appeared. We called him, and he said that this should not have been happened. This is defeat of justice. So he was a very bold in his commitment. He was an excellent judge, committed to the Constitution of India. So we not only lost a judge, we lost our very beloved comrade in the demise of Justice Suresh. Uh, I have many things to say whenever we called him, except few uh, uh, exceptions. Uh, he always uh, he never refused our invitation to come anywhere in the struggle, in any form of struggle. Not only inspired us just by word, but he physically participated, and people were really enthused to see him. And it's really a great loss. I can't. I'm very emotional. I I can't speak further on behalf of AITUC and the working class in general. I pay my deepest tribute to Justice Suresh. Let us. I propose that to for to keep his memories alive, uh, let HRLNL and other organizations should have some memorial activities, whatever it may be, and will fully support, AITC will be fully supporting such activities. And with these words, I once again pay homage on my behalf and on behalf of Maharashtra AITC, tribute to our beloved departed leader. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Uday.
So can I speak a bit?
Yes, please. Who's there?
Uh,
Saiba?
yes, sir.
Please go ahead.
Not that I had interacted much with him, but on the administrative point, I was very closely working with him. And as a lot has been said about him, I just want to add that he was really very alert. When everyone's saying he's alert, he was, because whenever we used to take any papers to him to be signed, there was always a question. It was never like a moment where you would feel that he doesn't know about this, be it FCRA, be it anything. And he would, unless and until he was very clear about what he's signing on the papers, he would not put up his signatures. And he was very cooperative otherwise. Not that it was very stern, but in a very loving manner. And the last, as ma'am said, Gayatri ma'am said, last was the meeting that we met him in February. He was so full of information with the young. When he was dealing with it, I was observing when he was dealing with the lawyers, young ones, the guidance that he was giving with such patience, and he was listening to them. It was such feel that, and right now when you look at everything that has gone back and you recollect that such a lot of guidance that we got from him, and we did not realize that he would leave so early. It's a big loss to all of us, but we will always be there. I mean, like, he will always be with us, and we will be guided by his thoughts and his way. And I think we all are continuing to work, and we'll work in the same direction, taking all his strength from him, the way he used to work at this age also without any support. He was always there wherever we wanted him to come, and he would never say no. And that is what we have to continue with it. I think I get my courage and strength from him now with all this. When I see Hazel ma'am, I see him. Yes, um, it's a big loss for all of us, no doubt. But we need to continue as a group, and I hope we reach where he also wanted us to reach there. Thank you.
Thank you, Saiba.
Can I
I
speak?
think we have
Rachna
come
here.
to the end of this.
Colin, Rachna here.
Rachna, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Rachna, please go ahead.
Colin, I'm really shocked, and I'm also in deep sorrow and grief, like how this happened. But my deepest condolences
Can you
to.
put on your video, Rachna?
Yes, please.
Can you put on your video?
Yes. So my deepest condolences for Justice Suresh's family and the HRN family also. And in this lockdown, like, and this is a darkest hour, and this is also a darkest news for all of us. I feel like losing of one of our family members, and I have this feeling because able to meet him in two of these board meetings in Mumbai, and he is the person just very down to earth, very energetic, and so inspiring, listening to everyone so patiently and giving his suggestions and feedback. And he's an amazing person, and the energy levels, as all said before me, like his energy levels were absolutely amazing. So on those lines, he will be keep inspiring, even though he is not physically existing among us, like. So yeah, I'm also too emotional because just for meeting two times, like, I have become such a amazing fan of him. Though listen about him a lot of amazing work by Justice Suresh. Now he will be like definitely inspiring us after his not existence physically among us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rachna. So now we've come to the end of this meeting. Thank you all for attending. I want to request that we keep.
Sir, can I say, sir, few words?
Yes, of course. Who's that? Faisal?
Faisal
From Kashmir. Yes, Faisal. Please do that.
Yes, sir. Faisal. Yes. Sir, I got a chance to meet with Honorable Justice Suresh a couple of times. When I reached HRL in 2015 in Kashmir, we had organized a meeting in Kashmir. So Justice Suresh was here along with Gayatri ma'am and Kranti sir. So I remember the time he spoke about the NJAC, National Judicial Appointment Commission. So at that time, he said that next 10 years are going to be very important for Indian judiciary. If this government continues for another 5 years, they are going to destroy this judicial system in India. And today, sir, I see the things which he have said in 2015 are happening, sir. Today, I see all those things happening. He spoke about this NJAC, and he spoke about this how judicial system is going to be. The government is going to keep this appointment of judges within their powers and all that. He was a very sober person. I still remember many words, many things he have said in that meeting. Simple man. People used to talk at the end of the meeting that is he really the judge of the High Court? So I told the law students at that time that yes, he was a judge of Bombay High Court. He retired as Bombay judge of the Bombay High Court. And Justice Suresh was, I don't know whether my friends know this thing or not. Justice Suresh was also he was a Munsif. He was initially appointed as Munsif. And then he had qualified that exam, judicial exam. And subsequently he resigned from that post and came back to Bombay High Court to practice as a lawyer. Then in the year, I guess in 87 or 88, he was elevated to the Bombay High Court as a judge. He was a very humble person, a very kind person. Like you said that he was wearing this kurta, simple kurta and simple chappal. So my deepest condolences to the bereaved family, and yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Faisal.
Yes, sir. मैं थोड़ा बोलूंगी.
Archana, Sujata, please go ahead.
हाँ सर, मैं थोड़ा बोलूंगी. Actually, this is a speechless news for us. आप उन्होंने उड़ीसा आए थे और वापस कोई भी नहीं थे, चले गए. इसी के लिए मैं तो इस टाइम नहीं थी, लेकिन उसी के लिए उड़ीसा वासी की तरफ से मैं सॉरी चाहती हूँ. उनका आत्मा को मैं सॉरी बोलती हूँ. और उनको मैंने मीट किया था आईपीटी ऑन एनवायरनमेंट दिल्ली में जब हो रहा था. उसी टाइम मैंने उनको लॉन्च के टाइम में मीट किया. उन्होंने बोला यू आर फ्रॉम, आई एम सुजाता फ्रॉम ओडिशा. ओ यू आर ओडिशा, oh so many works you have to do. मैंने बोला yes sir. So there उनकी वही लैंग्वेज मुझे काफी इंस्पिरेशन दिया कि उन्होंने कितना हमको याद रखते हैं. तो उनके लिए मैंने उनकी वही वर्ड आज भी मेरे कान में आ रही है. सो मैं भगवान से प्रार्थना करती हूँ कि उनकी आत्मा को सद्गति दे और वो अमर रहे. जय हिंद.
Thank you, Sujata. Thank you, everybody. Now, I would request all we just maintain 1 minute of silence in our minds to think of Justice Suresh, to imagine his smiling face, and to give him in our minds a very big hug and bid him farewell. Thank you, everybody. I must remind you that all of us from the Human Rights Law Network, or anybody else who wants to continue, please stay on. The trustees will discontinue. Thank you, Hazel. Thank you, Rajiv. The rest of you, please continue. We are doing a meeting on the Supreme Court order on migrant laborers, which came a few days ago. And we want to work out a plan of action for doing cases in the High Court for the implementation of the Supreme Court order and for other reliefs for migrant workers in all your states. So please stay on, everybody. Gunjan and Gayatri will lead this session now. Gayatri, you're there? Gayatri?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. The idea, and Gunjan is there also, yes. And the idea is actually to tell you about the Supreme Court order and to encourage all of you immediately after this session, try and work on petitions for your High Court for matters covered by the Supreme Court order, which is basically travel of migrant workers and so on, but to go beyond the Supreme Court order as well and to look at issues such as food, look at issues such as medical treatment, look at issues such as the, what are those camps called where you...
One second, sir, 1 second. I'll just intervene. Is Philip around? Philip,
Yes.
all of this is going live on YouTube. Can we stop the live now since we are doing our other meeting?